I finished matting all of my pages. And the only part I have left to do on here is the flaps on the backs and the tags that go in the pockets. I'm going to start by doing the tags. I'm using these tag templates that I just printed out. I've got 2 Halloween sets. This album was made with set number 1, and I'm going to use set number 2 for this one. And set number 2 images are different than the images from set number 1, so there's no duplicates in here. And I started off by printing off the 2 sets because I'm going to be using some with the eyelet and some without the eyelet. The eyelet ones I'm going to use for the pull-out tags that sit in the pockets, and the ones without eyelets I'm going to use on the flaps. I could use the ones with the eyelet too. It's up to you if you prefer whichever one, or use your own images. So I'm going to start by taking these 2 sheets of tags, and I'm going to cut them. I'm going to need 6 tags for each of my pages. Now when I cut my tags, I just cut around the black line. Yes, I'm just going to move this aside. And I'm going to cut these around the black line. And these are the ones with the eyelet because I'm going to punch holes in there, and I'm going to put a ribbon through them later. Now if you're cutting and you see a little bit of the white showing, you can always go around the edge with black ink. So I'm just going to start with this page for now, and I'll cut my other 2 tags after. So I'm going to start with this tag. What I did is I matted these onto a cardstock to make it thicker, since I'll be pulling this in and out. So I'm going to use these sheets of cardstock for my tags. Now I only have 6 of these, so I'm going to have, I want 3 different colors, 2 tags on 3 different colors. So I'm going to start by just taping my tag down. Now because I'm attaching this to my cardstock, I'm not going to be putting anything on the back because I'm going to leave that either for a photo or even journaling with the gold pen or anything like that. So I'm not going to mat the back. If I was to put some of my glue on here, it tends to warp the cardstock. Now there is a type of glue, this one here, art glitter glue, that seems to work pretty well, and it doesn't warp the paper. But nevertheless, I'm still going to just go ahead and use my 2-sided tape, and I'm going to tape around the edges. Like that, and I'll just put a piece down the middle, like that. So I remove my tape backing and I'm going to attach this to my piece of cardstock. Like that. Now I can use my trimmer and just cut around the edge, and I eyeball that. About 1/8 of an inch. There we go. And now you can either leave that like that, but I want to punch a hole through there and insert a brad. So I take my crocodile, or whatever tool you prefer to use. And the hole, the eyelet on the tag just helps center the hole. I'm going to grab an eyelet. And then I'm going to set it. Don't press too hard, you don't want to tear through the paper. And there's my first tag. I'm going to attach some ribbon to this, but I'm going to do it later on when I'm embellishing the album. So that will fit in my page. Excuse me, like that. So although all of these sheets of paper, like I've got little bits of different types of paper, what really ties it in is these vintage colored photos. So go ahead and make your tags, and then after that we'll do the flaps. So here are my tags for each page, and I staggered the color of the cardstock so that it's dark blue, red, green, dark blue, red, green. You can do it however you want, or use all the same color on your matting if you prefer. Now I'm going to do the flaps on the back. And this is where I cut my design. I'm using the papers that don't have the brad or the eyelet at the top. Now I might be covering these up with a flower or button anyways, like I did in this album. In this one I did use the one with the eyelet because it showed me where the center was, so it was easy to attach my buttons. But you can use either sheet. I'm going to use the ones without this time. And I trimmed my white border, and I'm going to attach that like that. I'm going to have a little bit of a wider gap on this flap than I did on this one. I had made my flap a little bit smaller here, but on this one I made it a little bit wider, and I want a bit more of that border showing. So go ahead and trim your flap pieces, whichever side you want. If you want more white around the edge, you can leave a bit more. And then after that, we're going to make the tags that slide. We're going to mat the tags that slide inside the pocket. So here are my flaps. I've got my images on the back of each page, and it's really pulling this little album together. Now, even though there's a lot of images in here, there's still lots of room for photos, because you can put a photo behind here. You can attach one there. And then here, you can place a photo here and here. And then also inside each of the page, there's this little tag that pulls out. So you can also put 2 photos on here, but one side I'm going to attach my little journaling tag, my printed journaling tag. So this is going to be attached like that. I cut around the black edge. I used again the one without the eyelet. You could use the one with the eyelet if you prefer, but since I won't be punching a hole in it, I just use the plain one. I cut around the black edges, and I'm going to leave the back plain for a photo or more journaling, so I'm not going to mat. So in that case, because I'm going to be putting this piece just on one side, I'm going to use my two-sided tape. I'm not going to use just my glue because that will make the paper warp. So cut your journaling tags if you want to use those and attach them to the edge of your pull-out tag with the punch border over on the right. My tags are assembled, and I'm just inking around the edges of the scallops. If you like, you can ink all around the tag, but I'm just doing the scallops for now. When I printed out my tag templates, I printed 2 pages of the, I printed the page twice because there's only 4 tags in the template, and I've got 6 pages, so I just printed the tag page twice. Now these are ready to insert into the album, into the pages like that. But I'm going to leave them aside for now because I still need to do the covers for the album, and then we'll do the bindings and then attach the pages, and then we can put the tags in. I'm going to work on the covers. To make the covers, you can use chipboard. I took an old cardboard box and I cut it apart to make my pieces. So I've got my front cover, my back cover, and the spine. Now these are attached to this sheet of plastic. If you have Tyvek, you can use that. That helps reinforce the spine, and it's going to hold the covers attached like that, and then I'm going to wrap them up so it'll be nice and sturdy. So I start off by putting some two-sided tape on the back of my spine. And I remove the backing. And I center the spine over the piece of plastic. I just use a plastic page protector. It works great. So I'm going to just lay that down on there. I want to make sure it's well attached. Now the covers will attach to the plastic on either side. Now the trick here is you don't want to have your covers so close together that when you go to close them, there's too much pressure and it's going to tear your paper at the top and the bottom. It's going to make it crack. So you want to make sure that you've got enough space in between so that the cover can close easily without any pulling. Okay? So to do that, I'm going to put some two-sided tape, and I'm going to start about 1/4 of an inch away from the spine. So I'm going to put quite a few strips of tape here to hold everything in place. And I do the same thing on this side, about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of the spine. attach my cover. I'm going to start, oh, and by the way, when I cut my cardstock, my cardboard, I use an old blade. It helps save wear on my newer blades. Okay, so I pull off a bit of the tape backing from one end, and I position my cover. I want to make sure it's nice and straight and about 1/4 inch away from the spine. And I'm just going to press down on there, and I can make sure that it's straight like that, yeah. And I can remove the rest of the tape backing. And I just lay it down flat. And I just press on the back. Should make sure it's well adhered. Then I do the same thing on the other side. Take off a strip of tape backing. That's good. Oops, I moved. Let's try this again. One last check to make sure it's nice and straight. So now I can begin wrapping my covers in the spine. Now the outside is where the plastic is, okay? There's no plastic on the inside. So what I did is I cut my pieces of paper. It's fairly thick paper, and I'm going to use the same for the front and the back cover. So what I do is this is going to cover the front like that, and this will wrap around the back. And when I cut my paper, I leave 1 inch extending past the top, the bottom, and the left edge for wrapping. So I'm going to put some 2-sided tape on the front cover. I'm going to start at the edge here, close to the spine. Okay. Now, I'm going to position my cover so that the edge of the paper is lined up with the inside edge of the cover, like that. I'm going to remove the tape backing first. I should have done that. Okay, so I'm going to line it up. So I want 1 inch at the top, 1 inch at the bottom, and I want my edges to line up like that. Now I'm going to start wrapping. I'm going to trim my corners diagonally here about 1/4 inch away. That way it will make it easier to fold up those corners. I'm just going to draw a line, and then I'm going to trim. Don't go any closer than about that 1/4 inch mark. So now I will put some two-sided tape around the edges of the chipboard or cardboard cover, and I'm going to do the same thing around the paper. Including where I made the diagonal cut. Just squeeze that in there. Now I'm going to start wrapping at this end. I'm going to fold this down like that. And I start removing the tape backing. So I remove it from the end of the paper, and I'm going to lift up these diagonal edges here halfway so that it can get taped down like that. Okay, now I lift this up and inside, and I adhere. Flip it over, and I'm going to wrap the bottom. And before I do that, this little corner here, I'm going to push that in with my fingernail like that, just to get a nice crisp corner. I don't know if you can see that. Then I'm going to fold this a bit and remove the tape backing. And fold up. I do the same thing on the other side. Push that corner in so it's nice and flat. So there's my front cover. And do the same thing for the back cover. So I'm going to put my tape across. Now, if your paper has a direction, make sure you don't put it upside down. This is my front cover. It goes like that. So this will go like that. So if I had a pattern on this, you want to make sure that your pattern is up. And I just line this up 1/2 inch from the top and the bottom. Okay, so finish wrapping the back cover, cut the corners, tape and fold, and then we'll do the spine. So now I'm going to cover the spine, and I have this black cardstock that's embossed, and I'm going to attach that to the spine like that. It's going to overlap the front and back covers by about an inch on each side. So I want to make sure that this is put on really straight. So I'm going to make a mark here just before the 1 inch area, and I'm going to use that as a guide to put the paper down straight. Then I'm going to draw a line going straight down like that. And when I attach my paper, I'm just going to attach it so it just covers that line, and I'll know that it's straight and will be even on both sides. So I put some two-sided tape along both edges of my paper. You can also use glue if you prefer, but I like using the two-sided tape. Okay. Then, on my cover, I put a piece of two-sided tape just along the inside cover, and I'll put another strip next to that. I do the same thing on the other cover. Then, on the spine, I'm going to put some right over that gap. Then I finish putting some more tape over the spine. So I'm going to pull back a little bit of this two-sided tape backing, and now I can position my paper. The very edge is going to be covered with a little bit of lace, so if it's not perfect, don't worry about it. So I'm going to use my line as a guide. I want about an inch at the top and the bottom, so make sure it's centered. And then I'm just going to move this just to the right of the line, like that. Remove that piece of tape, and now I know that my piece will be on straight. Yeah, that's pretty good. So I can lift up the paper and remove the rest of the tape backing. You can also use a glue gun and fabric if you prefer. Okay, and then I remove the tape backing from the other edge. Flatten everything down. Flip it over. Now I'm going to put some tape along the bottom edge of the cover, and the paper is going to wrap into the inside. And I'll put another piece here on the paper. I fold up. Make sure it's folded up nice and straight. Okay, and then you can press down in the creases a bit, like that. They probably won't stay flat, but they will after I've done the other side. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Press in as you close. Like that. If it doesn't stay down flat inside the crease, that's okay. It's all going to be covered up anyways. Okay, so there's the cover of my album. Now I'm ready to attach the binding inside the covers. And there's different binding methods that you can use. This is a hidden hinge system, and the one I like to use, especially for these little albums, it's not heavy, the pages are light, is called Stack the Deck by Laura Dennison. She's with FollowThePaperTrail on YouTube. She has excellent videos and tutorials, and that's where I learned how to do the Stack the Deck binding on her website. She's the one who developed it. So my measurements are a little bit different than hers. So you can follow my measurements in the written instructions where I have the dimensions. So here are my 3 pieces, the bottom, middle, and the top. What I do is I place each piece on my scoreboard and I score 1/2 inch at each end. So 1/2 inch here, I flip it around, and I score 1/2 inch again. And then this one, 1/2 inch, flip around, and another 1/2 inch. Now I think this gives me a 3/8 gusset. Yeah, I get a 3/8 of an inch gusset in between each page. So now I'm going to score all of these pieces, fold the hinges up like that. So my hinge measures 5 inches on each side. This is going to stack onto this one, and then this one is going to stack onto this one. And that's why she calls it Stack the Deck. And these are my 6 hinges that my pages will attach to. Then these will attach to a base piece like that, and the whole thing attaches to the album cover. So I'm going to start by applying some 2-sided tape, or you can use glue. Fold the hinges up like that, and you're going to put some glue or tape on the base. You don't want to tape the hinges. And then I want to make sure that my area is well covered, so I'm going to remove the tape, the tape backing, so I can lay another strip down like that. I'll just put my tape backing back on here temporarily while I position it over the middle stack. Okay, so here's my middle piece. So what I'm going to do is I'll place this against my scoreboard to make sure that this is nice and straight. This piece here, this edge, will be at 3/8 of an inch from the left edge of the middle piece. So that's 1, 2, so that's 3 lines at the top, and I line it up at the bottom. 3 lines at the bottom, like that. So now I should have lifted up my tape a bit. Here, I'll do that. Just with the scoreboard, it makes it easier to put your pieces on straight. So there's the top is at 3/8, and the bottom is at 3/8. So I hold that in position. Like that. So there's the top and the middle piece attached. Now I'm going to do the same thing to this piece. I'm going to cover the base with 2-sided tape. And I fold this back. I'm going to lift off a bit of tape backing. And again, I do the same thing. I'm going to position this at 3/8 of an inch from the left of the larger piece. Hold it in position. You want to make sure it's straight, otherwise your pages will be crooked. So there's your Stack the Deck binding. We've got your 6 hinges here. Now I'm just going to attach this to this base piece. So once again, put some 2-sided tape on here. And again, 3/8 of an inch on here. So I'm just going to remove a piece of 2-sided tape. Did I remove the rest? I forgot to remove the rest of my 2-sided tape when I attached the last piece. Let me just remove that. I thought I had removed it all, but I didn't. Okay. And I'm missing a piece here. Okay. So let's try this again. I'm going to lift off a little bit of the tape backing, and this will attach 3/8 of an inch from the left edge. And then I'm going to remember to remove the rest of the tape backing. Now I'm going to put some tape under the base. This will fit inside my album like that, and it's going to be centered top to bottom, and I'm going to line it up with the left edge of the spine. So I put some tape under the base. And I'm going to make sure that I've got tape all around the edges here. And tape across. Like I said, you can also use glue. Maybe I should have used glue because it wouldn't have used up so much of my tape, but I don't mind for this album. I'll move this out of the way. So start again by lifting off a bit of the tape backing, and you line up your base, centering top to bottom, and just even with the left edge of the spine. And pull off the tape backing like that. And I lift up and I remove the rest of the tape backing to finish attaching this in the album. Now if there's a bit of tape showing on the right, don't worry about that because that's going to be covered. Once I line the inside covers, I'm going to have paper that goes right up to the edge here. Okay. Now, before I cover the inside though, I will be attaching my pages, and to do that, I'm going to start by putting some two-sided tape on each side of the hinge, and then the page pocket will slide over the hinge like that, and that's going to be attached in like that. So apply some two-sided tape. Don't go all the way down to the bottom of the hinge, because if your page isn't absolutely flush against the bottom, your tape's going to be visible. So you might want to leave about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom and just tape across like that on each hinge. And then the next one. Okay, so you do that for each of the hinges, and then once that's done, we'll start attaching the pages inside the album.